All right, welcome everyone. We're going to have an interesting discussion here about the Starfield Pronouns drama. If you haven't seen it, 30 seconds. Oh, coming through some feedback.
Back
Feedback.
on.
Kick. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're going to discuss the Starfield Pronouns drama and just probably some like light gaming items. There's also a couple other topics we could possibly discuss too about the game. I've actually not played it yet, but the price tag is perhaps something we want to discuss because there is this trend towards games to cost $70 now, and I'm not sure how everybody feels about that.
Inflation. Here's one word: inflation. Inflation finally caught up to us. Is the best way for me to describe it. It was a long time coming, and it finally hit us like a freight train.
Yeah, I boycotted
Wasn't like
Diablo
the,
4 for a long time because of the $70 price tag. I don't want that to become the industry standard.
Um,
wasn't the joke
as
in like
long
the
as
90s Simpsons episode, like the Thrill House episode, like Marge was like, "Oh, but games cost up to and including $70." It's like it's
uh,
been
I'm going to say this: if the game is worth it, then yes. Like Tears of the Kingdom, this game, they're worth it. Especially this one. Like I'm actually enjoying. I'm enjoying the hell out of this game right now, as you can see.
Actually, we can't see Leon, by the way. It's
I
not
thought
coming
I
through.
screen shared.
It did earlier, but I think it. Oh wait, okay, never mind. It's above your head in the thing, so I do see it now.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Swap the price tags on
like
Baldur's
you
Gate
could like
and
with Alana Pierce. So Alana Pierce, she literally did a thing where she went from one part from Neptune to Pluto, and that's how big it is. I mean, it's not big. No Man's Sky is the same way, and so is Star Citizen, and so it was Elite Dangerous. But
Well,
this
yeah,
Isn't it
but
game,
bigger than that?
there's
Like you can go to like Alpha Centauri and shit.
yep.
there's a difference between what you can do and what you would want
Wait a
to do.
second.
Like nobody wants to sit in a spaceship doing absolutely nothing for 8 hours
No.
driving directly to Pluto. So
No, I mean it's just so showing you that it's not like, oh, it's just see there's Alpha Centauri, there's a solar system. Uh yeah.
Wait,
Bernard
yeah, there's
Star.
like a small
It's
quadrant
not
of the Milky Way.
necessarily the first of its kind, but
I know it's not.
wait,
I like-
Taki, is there anything else you want to finish for your opening thing? Or is that
Yes.
it?
Does everyone want to introduce themselves real quick? You can go from top left to the bottom.
Who's top left? Am I top
Oh,
left?
sorry. Okay, actually, okay. I'm joined today with Foodshops.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm Foodshops. I'm a professional OnlyFans creator. My subscription fee is $500 a month. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Okay. And Leon.
I'm Slaying Gunstill. I've been doing random live streaming for the past almost 10 years now. And yeah, I've been with a lot of people that I've streamed with. Best way of describing what I am. I'm just a random guy on random streams.
You've been with a lot of people you streamed with. Do you want to
No, I
expand
meant
upon that?
I've been on. No, I. That's not what I meant. I've been on a lot of streams with random people. That's what I meant.
I'm just giving you shit.
I know it is, but yeah, yeah, that went out wrong. But yeah, I've been on a lot of different streams with a lot of different creators and stuff. That's probably where people would know me from.
All right, Ninetails Fox.
Hi, I'm Ninetails, debater extraordinaire. You may have seen me do other debates before here and there, but I found myself on this panel tonight, and I will probably be one of the stronger lefty voices. Although I'm never as strong as Viv. She is fabulous, by the way. So everyone, pay attention to her.
Jesus, don't big me up too much.
And
eating
welcome,
ragu.
Viv.
Hi, I'm Viv. Anti-fascist historian, cult researcher, here in my official capacity as knower of things to do with far-right fuckery. Yeah, and I also play video games. I've played Starfield, I've finished Starfield, well, in as much as you can finish Starfield. And I think I have some stuff that I could say on the topic.
All right, Appabend.
I'm Appabend. I'm just here chilling, just chatting and stuff.
Yeah, this is actually the first time we've talked, Vivian and Appabend. I think we did do a stream like 10 years ago, did we not?
God, 10 years ago, Mike. Like, don't make me feel old, bro.
Well, I think it was only like 7 or 8 actually, but
Yeah, it was like
People
2016, I think.
yeah. And then Hannah,
It was
welcome. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I'm Hannah. I'm not anyone as of great note. Some of the other people here. I have a YouTube channel, Char42, which I uploaded videos a while back, which I'm still very proud of. But with Tachyon, I've sort of debated him taking the anti-Gamergate position several times over the years. And sort of as the resident trans girl in his community, resident gender haver and pronoun haver, it seemed sensible to weigh in.
Yeah, well, I'm glad everybody's here. Thank you all for coming. Appa, were you saying something? Before I cut you off, sorry.
No, I didn't. I wasn't saying anything. No, I was actually kind of expecting a more, actually, how do you call it? I was
Adversarial.
adversarial, not adversarial in a sense. Adversarial in a sense that, because the thing is, in regards to the context of Starfield Hoopla, because I take a position that I usually do not take. That is not common among my audiences. Like, my audiences expect me to take the, oh well, it's a pronoun and therefore it's a huge deal and therefore you should make it a big deal. Well, I take a different position and a bunch of people are angry about that, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I don't know if I should just gonna upload more videos, just doubling down on the whole stuff, or we're gonna still contemplating on that. We'll have to see how it goes in that regard. And by the way, I'm also going to be streaming tomorrow and also talking about my audiences in this regard, because I just don't like reading comments. I feel like it's not a very good place to convey any sorts of discussions. I feel like if I want to talk to my audiences, I'd rather just have a stream, just chat with them directly and everything like that. But yeah, I don't know how the discussion is going to go, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Okay, and I guess we should probably do like a really quick, brief overview. So I thought we might watch the thing together on stream, but I don't know if that's a good idea. Have we all seen it? The video, the heel face man
Heel
baby
thing?
guy, or heel
Yes.
baby face. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can someone actually? I'd be interested if someone can find like a walkthrough or the point where you actually select your pronouns, because I've heard it doesn't exist. Like there is no.
It does.
pronoun
It does
definition.
exist.
It
It's,
absolutely does
exist when you
exist.
do
it's
the.
kind of
I looked for it.
awkward. It's kind of awkward to find. It actually
It's
took me a
after
minute
you-
to find them.
After
But
you
it's
when
not.
type
you
It's
in
not
type
like
the
your-
Pokemon. It's not like
when you
Pokemon,
type
right?
your name in, you actually actively have to click. Like the pronouns for your person are displayed, and they're
Okay.
based on your body type. And then if you click on those pronouns, you can change them to she, her, they, them, or he, him.
So people in the
So it's
chat
not
are
like
asking
Pokemon, though, where
if
like,
I'm.
you're forced to choose.
Yes, I am Netscape from the old GG days. I got some people in chat asking. Yeah, that's me. I'm still around. New name now. I took a long hiatus.
If you don't
Your-
mind, I can share a screen of showing where the pronoun option is in the game.
Yeah. It's in character creation, right?
Yeah, this
It's after you
ignore the
type
background.
in
This is
the
for my stream. But yeah, as you can see, if you can click on the screen of my stream, yeah, as you can see, this is the profile, and there's like a background, the character creation where you select your traits. You got the introvert, neon street rat, and then once you're done with selecting the traits, you can pick your names, and then you name your player, for example, and then there's a button that says pronoun, and then you just pick your pronoun, she or her, he, him, they. Like those are the 3 pronoun options.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to
On
have
mouse
neo
and
pronouns
key,
in
it
there.
wasn't quite as obvious with the pronoun button, but
That was just so fast. Like I watched the walkthrough where they went through all this character creation. It was so fast for me. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that the first time. I guess it's somebody who is more, I guess, politically aware of this sort of stuff. They are gonna notice it more, but personally, I didn't notice it.
Okay,
mean,
thank
it's a
you.
whole
Because
button.
like that was one of my things that I before this, and I couldn't even find it.
Well, this is actually possibly a good jumping in point, and I do want to give everybody a chance to talk. I know it's a big panel. In the future, I might do smaller ones because bigger ones don't always go super great.
Why, Tachyon? Why?
But
I hate you.
a good jumping off point to start this might be, Appa, you actually did a video about this, and you said that your audience's reaction wasn't quite what you were hoping for. Is that fair to say?
No,
What all happened?
it is exactly as I am hoping for, because it is one of those videos that I did that are very, very risky, because I can potentially like straight up burn bridges. And I've had like tweets and people telling me, "Oh, Appa, you're wrong," or "I'm disappointed in you," or "This is a big L," and everything like that, or something along those lines. I'm like, well, this is my honest opinion. I don't know what else. I don't know how else are you gonna do to me. It's what I think, and I think it shouldn't be a big deal. And then I've seen a lot of people said something along the lines of, well, if it isn't a big deal, like, why are you making a video on it? Well, no, the pronoun itself isn't a big deal. It's everybody else that's making it a big deal that is a big deal. And now I'm making a big deal out of everybody's making a big deal out of nothing. So it is just a chain of people making a big deal out of something that is out of nothing. And it is just, I'm contributing into the stupidity, basically.
Wait, hold on. The rest of us doesn't know the context of what you're talking about. Can you explain to us what you addressed in the video?
All right. So basically, I'm taking the stance in the video that the pronoun option doesn't really matter. That's the stance. And then a bunch of my audience is like, no, it actually does matter. And I'm like, why? If it doesn't really matter, why do you have to make it? Why do you have to make a video on it? Why do you have to make a big deal out of it?
In what way are they saying it matters?
Yeah, I'm saying it's not the pronoun thing that matter. It's the whole controversy of why people are making a big deal of it. That, in my opinion, is what matters. That's why I made a video on it. I guess people just misunderstood that.
Oh no, I understand that, but your audience, are they saying it's a big deal because it's great trans representation, or are they saying it's a big deal because pronouns are indoctrinating children into an evil cult? Like which?
The latter.
Right. Yeah, I figured, but I thought it was best to clarify.
Wait. So are you saying when other creators reacted to it, did people overreact? You think? To the rant.
Yeah.
To the rant.
To the rant, I'd say, to the rant specifically, I'd say for most people, I've seen nothing but people just clowning at him. There are some people that are like, oh, this rant is perfectly, he is justified with this rant, and he is angry for the right reasons. But most of the people that I see, or at least in my timeline, they're clowning at for his rant. He's clowning. They're clowning at him pretty much relentlessly.
Yeah.
That being said, I do have to give Az some credit though, because he did a response to the whole controversy, and I think his response to the whole thing is a lot more level-headed, a lot more measured. Even if I don't agree with a lot of the things that he said in that response, it is at least not as ragey and as anger-inducing as the one in the stream. Which, I mean, it is a stream, so of course your raw emotions are going to be there. And it's a video, so it's gonna be a lot more articulate.
As fuck. There's no way in hell that guy is actually that mad about this. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just like clout, whatever the fuck, right? Yeah. And it worked. So I mean, congrats. That's it, right?
Yeah, congrats to Heels versus Babyface. You've officially made yourself a massive clown on the internet. Now everybody's acting on you, and you got the attention you wanted.
Yeah, and then the internet will forget and then move on, and then we'll just get angry at the next thing, and then that's it, right? Yeah. It's sort of like how the quartering sort of made his entire career off of outrage baiting and that kind of thing, right?
I mean, there's a lot of righties that do that for sure. It's the grift. Hey, look at this thing, isn't it sad?
I guess that too. Yeah, sure, it's the grift as well.
It's the grift. Is what
oh, the grift. The grift. Yes, the grift. Yes. I thought you said the girth, and I was like, the girth. Yeah, sure, I guess it's the girth as well. Yeah, okay.
No, just the grift. It's a business model that's existed since at least 10 years before, right?
I think the word girth and the quartering should not be in the same sentence.
Yeah. I mean, the girth is correlated with his grift. I guess it's true, right? As well as with Sargon, right? That kind of anti-SJW kind of thing, right? Since Gamergate. But I
Yeah.
think it's also, why it and I think there's a larger discussion to be had here, because I think we all agreed that it was like a whole nothing burger. It was like somebody easy for the internet to laugh about, right? And I don't think I don't think this person specifically, this total nobody, right, got any like mental trauma from it either. I don't think this person got any kind of, emotional damage from it. You know what I mean?
It
I
broke his
think
immersion, though. Like, his poor immersion.
it did take his poor immersion away. You're right. You
I
know what?
mean,
It broke his immersive gaming experience. You
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
you call him a nobody, but this
Curve
guy
and the
has like
quartering should not be
350k subs on YouTube, and we all know a significant amount of people do fucking bot
This is
followers
true,
and
right?
shit. But like, he's a fairly sized voice within the sort of like chud gaming sphere. So
Chud gaming
Oh,
sphere, yeah.
That's the thing about being on YouTuber if you're a culture war grifter, in that you cannot be in YouTube, at least you cannot take a neutral position in the culture war if you want to be successful at YouTube. You have to be in the absolute extreme side of that culture war, because if you stay on neutral on the whole thing, there's a good chance your audience is not going to grasp some nuance on the conversation, be like, why you decide to side with the SJWs now, or something along those lines.
I mean, I don't
And-
know if that's true. There are people who do a very good professional job of sitting on the fence. And personally, I think fence sitters are total fucking pussies, and they should get off it and actually take a moral stand against the communities that they're a part of. But there are people who are very good at it. Bellula Gaming, he's a pretty good example. Just fucking doesn't touch any of the political shit with a 10-foot pole, and just talks about the games.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terribly interesting to even look into or consider, like, is this person who made this video a grifter, or to what extent is the sincerity of their outrage? Because we all know there are people who are grifters, but it's all part of the same sort of reactionary sort of culture thing that's happening right now, and that there are people who get this frustrated about things, and this may very well just be an instance of one of the people who get frustrated at things, and so
They
that
get
seems to be more interesting thing to unpack. Is like, why do people, if it's this person or not, it's certainly someone, get this frustrated at this kind of thing?
Yeah, the people who do get that frustrated genuinely, I think are more likely to be viewers than content creators, right? Like,
yes,
yeah, because
The
the
purpose
content
is to
creator.
sort of lead such people around, so get lots of
There's a
people
reason why
outraged.
I'd rather not take extreme sides, because, well, it never ends well if you take an extreme side.
What do you
Yeah.
mean by an extreme side?
Wait, hold on. What do you mean by that? Yeah.
Yeah.
By,
What are the two
like,
extreme sides here? I'm just wondering.
I'm talking about like quartering or anyone else. Doing taking like those extreme sides is never a good idea, in my opinion.
No, I mean, so in this particular situation in which we have here, right? We got some people going, "Oh my god, fucking politics always with the
That's why I said
trans people enforcing minorities." And okay, we got people. So that's one extreme side, and I'd agree that that's an extreme side. What's the other extreme side?
You know what? I'm not even gonna bother with this.
I think the other extreme side is, I suppose, I guess if we bring in the Hogwarts Legacy debacle, I guess those people that have a huge contention over towards the game, I guess that's the extreme side of the other side. I'm not sure.
I think trying to push a boycott on Hogwarts is was probably ultimately doomed to fail. But I don't think it's a particularly extreme position. But there you go.
Attacking people, it's never a good idea. I've always been against it. Just jumping at the whatever because your feelings got hurt for one small thing, I don't stand with that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I know that Nine here already knows what I do, and what kind of thing I do in real life, but the rest of you guys don't really, and Taki also knows as well. But I do in real life political activism, and I'm also transgender, right? But one of the most important things is trying to see eye to eye on issues. And outside of the online sphere, when you're actually on the ground, talking to people, when I see stuff such as like the pronoun stuff with Starfield, I always think about, okay, how do I actually reach people, if they're being genuine and they're not just like clout farming, right? And I think that like I don't know. I always just try to think about the best way to reach these kinds of people is not to laugh at them, especially like the last remnants of Gamergate, is not to laugh at them, but actually try to have a conversation with them and try to like see eye to eye, ask them how they're doing, trying to see, what kind of issues, like, are you trying to hang on to some spite you have like 8 years ago, 9 years ago that you still can't let go or something like that. And at the same time with the Hogwarts Legacy kind of thing, even though it was a Doom thing at the start, people have been boycotting for years, so I can totally understand why people might go about attempting that. But at the same time, I think the optics of it was definitely, not so good. At least with like rating chats and with
So the
harassing
Hogwarts
streamers for
Legacy-
playing it, just for
the
having fun.
Hogwarts Legacy thing. I think there were people who got into it for a lot of different reasons and so on. Right? It's the online sphere. Everybody's coming from a whole bunch of different angles and stuff. Definitely as a boycott, it fails, right? But as a but I do hate this, and I don't want to get stuck on Hogwarts Legacy because that's not what we're here to fucking talk about.
No, that's okay.
but-
Don't worry about it.
But
It's somewhat related because of the hoopla, but yeah, go on.
yeah. But I think that optics are not always the primary concern in activism, right? There is an argument to be made. I think that the Hogwarts Legacy boycott allowed trans people and their allies to see who would support them with like minor actions, like maybe just don't buy this fucking game, right? And help to push the conversation further out into the sphere and mobilize and motivate a much larger group of people than we usually are able to. And if we could harness that motivation that we saw during the boycott and put it towards more effective measures, I think we'd be in a very good place because a lot of people were very motivated and incensed by that particular campaign, right?
I feel it's very important that
I
we
see a similar argument.
willing to sort of,
Yeah.
sorry.
I
think it's good that we're willing to sort of demonstrate that we are willing to sort of like take a stand and like advocate for ourselves. Because I can't remember who it was said just a second ago that all of the Hogwarts Legacy stuff was sort of based on hurt feelings. If the political situation around the world was such that like,
fucking annoyed me.
if the situation was that like all of our rights were just like super secure and there was nothing really threatening us, then you know what? Yeah, like all of these discussions online would just be hurt feelings, just people sort of shooting the shit, and it wouldn't really matter to anyone. Because at the end of the day, we would still have our rights. But because they are sort of up in the air, these things have more weight to them.
It's people's lives, right? Like two of my close friends and more that I know of in sort of wider circles, acquaintances and friends of friends and whatnot, have died on waiting lists for gender affirmative care here in the United Kingdom, right? And J.K. Rowling is somebody who not only says horrible things that might hurt people's feelings, right, but actively participates in the conversation in a democratic sense, pushing a particular point of view, funds anti-trans groups and their legal cases and legal battles and so on. And so there's a direct connection there from, it's not just, J.K. Rowling said something that made me feel bad. It's that J.K. Rowling is part of a movement, especially here in the United Kingdom. I don't know if anybody else is from the UK, but she's part of a movement that's significantly made it more significantly more difficult to access the kind of healthcare that we need, and that results in suffering and death, right? It's not
but going after street, I'm gonna push back here.
I want to respond.
Okay,
I want to respond. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, you said around like 4 to 5 points. I want to respond to all of them. So, okay. Wait, actually, Appa, do you want to go first, or maybe I should go first, or
Yeah, I wanna bring this conversation back to the whole Starfield discussion
Yeah,
because
that'd be
in relation to the optics discussion, because I have seen some people that make the argument that as Heel's babyface, Heel versus babyface, he getting outraged over this stuff is also a good thing because that brings the conversation of the pronouns into the whole public, and that brings more and more people into the quote unquote cultural war rebellion or something along those lines. That's one argument that I've seen from people, and I just don't agree with it because I don't think that bringing a lot of getting outraged over some trivial stuff is going to be a bad look to your movement. I don't think people are going to take you seriously. That is what I
that's
think.
good
But
for us, right? That's good
No.
for the people who are like pro-trans, right?
Can I just say something?
Can I wait?
Like,
I want to go after Appa. I
Food
wanna
shops
go
can
after
go,
Yes.
and then Leon, and then I want to say something about the Hogwarts
yes,
thing.
because
But
yeah, because I want to respond. Okay, so I just want to address these 4 points super quickly. So you said it's not the optics isn't the primary concern for activism. In my opinion, the optics is everything, because if it weren't for the optics, then we wouldn't be doing activism in the first place, right? Because it's not just like going door to door trying to like get people to vote. Like maybe you want to get people to vote. If you didn't have good optics at the door, then people wouldn't be going to vote in the first place. Like if you didn't look good optically to the person that you're talking to at the door, they wouldn't be going out there to go and vote.
Okay,
And if you didn't look good, wait, I want to address the other 3 points. So that's the first point, right? So the second point is that you say do not bring up the motivation because I don't even know what I said there. I'm just gonna go to the next point. My handwriting is fucking terrible. The people's lives, and you said the friends that have died, right? For that one, if the optics were good and you actually managed to convince more people to go vote, then people who go vote, at the end of the day, your friends might have like not to say your friends specifically, but when it comes to politics and voting will influence policy, and policy will save people's lives at the end of the day. And there will always be a number of people who die or not die based on the policies that are implemented based on the people who are voting or not. And like you can always put a number on these kinds of things. And you try to minimize that at the very end of the day. And finally, the last point is that you said J.K. Rowling have participated in the funds or whatever like that. At the end of the day, it's all about optics, right? So if us as transgender people act like the crazy ones, then J.K. Rowling will look like the optically will look like the reasonable one, the person who is speaking the facts, because she has the status quo kind of optics on her side already. So she has the upper hand in terms of the platforming part. So at the end of the day, what really matters is that like if she's gonna donate these kinds of funds and stuff, that's her on an individual level. It's all about how much she can influence her own base to donate funds on her behalf as well, especially if she can get her optics more appealing and out there to donate funds to like turf groups and etc. Right? So yeah, optics matter at the end of the day so much more than anything else. Like anyway, that's it.
I think here's where the wires are getting crossed. Okay.
Oh, Leon wanted to go real quick before, and then you can go. And then Scarlet, you wanted. Sorry, Ninetails, you wanted to go next after. Okay. Leon, go.
Okay, I gotta say this. Like, who was it that said it? Who was the one that was saying I'm playing the game right now? That gave the statement just last.
That was Foodshops.
Yeah, I'm Foodshops. Hi.
I'm okay. Sorry about that. I'm playing a game right now and I can't see anyone's names, but I agree with Foodshops. The way to handle this is to seek a common ground with people. If you push for extreme or you attack, all you're going to do is chase away people like me. I'm a moderate. I've never taken political extremes. And you know what? When you attack moderates, they're not going to support you. That's how I'm putting it right now. And right now, I want to support you guys, but extreme circumstances like this don't make me want to.
I don't think a fracas around a video game is a particularly extreme circumstance. I think if you're putting that much of your life and soul into like whether or not you play a Harry Potter game, you're living a pretty sad life. But beyond that, I took some notes
out
while
Ralph. I've called out everyone before. I've called out even Ethan Ralph.
I appreciate that.
Everyone.
And ultimately, You should be
Don't
acting
take
on
that
what
at me
you
for
believe
saying
is.
I don't support you. Don't
I
do
never
that.
said you
because-
don't. I never said you don't support anybody, right? Ultimately, I think that you should base who and what you support on your morals rather than whether or not you interpersonally like a couple of human beings.
And I've
right?
seen
Mhm.
your
Okay.
guys' side attack against my morals of just attacking people. I want people to be good to each other, but when you just go on full on attacking people for no reason, I mean, yeah, it might be against your own morals and stuff, but when you attack people, like full on attack them and go against I'm trying to think of it a best way of putting it. When you attack
I think
people,
generally,
all you're doing
yes.
is you're going against even your own morals because you're
Mm.
trying to say this is how you have to put it. You have to be the better person. That's the best way of providing the word.
I am the
But
better person.
you're not the
though.
better person when you do the same tactics the other side does.
I
Yeah,
mean,
well-
that's bullshit, right? If you have if you have a school shooter in the school shooting a bunch of fucking kids, and somebody comes in and shoots the school shooter, well, they're using the same tactics the shooter did, but they're a fucking hero.
Well, hang
okay?
on. We're not
So
talking
don't give
about
me that.
violence,
It
though. We're
depends-
talking
it
about people
depends-
having opinions. Like, we should be nice to people who disagree with us.
I'm sorry. I've got like 2 dead friends, and I know multiple more dead people. I know people who are suffering
Excuse
in
me,
fucking
1
poverty.
second here,
People
guys.
who've been hate crimed
1
and discriminated
second.
against because of this. We
Hold
are
it.
absolutely talking about
Hold it.
violence. Absolutely.
I got to say something here before you say anything. I just had 2 friends killed in my hometown just recently. I knew 2 people that were shot dead because some lunatic got mad at his wife and he shot her dead and he shot the bartender dead. So yes, I know it as well. It happens. People are going to get hurt, but the best way we could do that is by
And if you could identify the cause of that, right? The
Well-
reason why that man shot your friends, you would be right to be really fucking angry at whatever that cause was, right? And you would likely want to
we're
try
not
and stop
sure
it.
yet. We're not sure yet what it was just yet.
No,
We're
I know,
still
I
waiting
know.
for
I
the
said
end.
if you knew the reason, right? If you knew the reason it happened, you would likely be quite angry, unless it's like, you know, oh, this guy just had a mental health break out of fucking nowhere, right? Nobody even knew he was mentally ill. You couldn't even go after the poor mental health system in the United States for it. It was just a freak thing that happened. Then you'd be very sad about it and probably frustrated at the universe, right?
And
But like
that's basically
if you
what
can
happened.
identify a cause, right? If I can identify a movement that is encouraging people to go out and shoot people who are people like your friends, right? Then you would be very right to be extremely angry at that movement and to take whatever action you could to try and stop them from encouraging more people to go out and shoot.
Since
people
when
like your
has
friends.
Rawlings encouraged violence against transgenders? I looked heavily into this. Since when has Rawlings ever pushed for this?
So
When she pushes for legislation that takes away transgender rights
But
in
that's
medical,
We
that's
are
one
getting
thing.
a little
That is
far
something
afield.
else.
A little
That
far
is very
afield,
no.
guys.
I know.
I think it's
don't
just
think we
Ninetails,
are,
you've
though.
raised
I
your
don't think we
hand.
are. I'm going to answer his question then, if that's okay.
Wait,
Yeah,
I think
very
Nine
well.
want to respond or something. Yeah.
So one of the chief ways that we enable violence against trans people is complicity towards it. So when we stand by and let people advocate for us as if we're subhuman or we're never going to be the people who we are, that is very much what feeds back into gender dysphoria in a social way and leads to higher suicide rates. Now I'm just making a kind of like a reductive link between this because it's different for everybody. But we know that how society responds to trans people has a huge impact on how they feel. And also, as Viv pointed out, Rowling has donated to several causes that very much want to prevent people from getting the gender affirming care that they're seeking. We also know that when they're not getting the care that they're seeking, their risks of suicide are much higher, thus leading to their death. And so, yeah.
I do have
I do
three
want to bring
questions.
the.
Wait, I want to
sorry.
respond.
I want to
I
ask.
wanna-
Okay. Appa, you started talking first, then you Food Shops. Then I do want to ask 3 questions, and just sort of put these 3 questions out there and see what people think.
All right, so I do want to bring this whole conversation back into the video game, though, because in regards to whatever that happens in the real world, in regards to what people either support or not support the trans causes, like, what does all of that have to do with the video games that we are specifically talking about? Because
I can tell you very
May
simply.
I-
I can
Go
tell you
ahead.
very simply. It is
Go ahead.
simply that they do not want to see trans people because they view trans people as representative of an ideology that they are opposed to. So they want trans people to be invisible, and any hint of transness, i.e. having pronouns in a video
I see.
game, causes great offense to them because they view it as whatever you want to call it, wokeness, cultural Bolshevism, the New World Order, right? It varies from group to group. But
Tachyon, I've been very quiet. May I have a
Go
quick...
right ahead.
sorry, Karen.
Oh, I
Thank
think
you.
yeah. Okay. Then food shops go next if that's okay with everybody. Was just and then they got
Okay.
I just want to point out that when we look at why someone can grift off of this, then the answer is what Viv just alluded to, that there is a moral panic which has evolved over decades from the anti-gay panic, anti-satanic panic, anti-violent video games panic. This is a constant group of people who go from one thing to the next, getting mad at it as like a popular bandwagon movement. And so
I see.
going back to what Food Shop said, like, optics may matter when people are thinking rationally. Sorry, 1 second.
No more ink. No more ink.
Optics may matter when people are thinking rationally, but when you've generated propaganda to cause people to think irrationally so that way they just hate the other, then optics start to just not matter, and they're just a no-win scenario for the group that they target.
Wait, sorry. Can you repeat that last point? I didn't write it down correctly.
You don't okay, maybe don't write everything down word for word, but optics don't matter when people aren't thinking rationally because there's propaganda made to make them fear other people irrationally.
Okay, gotcha. I got you. Okay. All right. Can I respond?
yeah. You're good. You're good, food shops, and then I'll ask the 3 questions because one of them is actually related to Starfield.
Let me get in one.
Dude, okay. Oh my god. Okay. But there's oh god, there's 7 points I want to respond to. Okay. Okay, hold on. There's 4 points by Vivian and then 3 points by Ninetails. Okay. All right. So okay, hold on. Maybe I'll just not respond to all of them. Okay.
Just pick 2. Pick 1 for Ninetails, 1 for me. Okay. What's the most pressing and important point?
Shellfish.
You can make all 7 points if you want to.
No, I'm not going to. Hold on. Okay, so for attacking the okay, I just want to harp on like a point that Leon Gunsteel have made for attacking the liberal moderates specifically for that one, right? I know that maybe this is more of a thing, right? Because I sometimes not pose as a liberal moderate, right? Because I consider myself like a bit more progressive person at times, although a lot of people will disagree with that. But the thing is that some people will lash out at me very much preemptively. Like, for example, I will say, no, not anybody on this panel, okay? No, it's like people will lash out preemptively for no, not you, Nine. Okay, stop. I remember there was a squatter, this UK squatter, who was upset at me for questioning about squatting, and then even though I was at first sympathetic to his beliefs, and I just wanted to question what was going on. Like, hey, isn't squatting just breaking in somebody's home and then you're just like living in their house without their permission or some shit like that? He lashed out so defensively and refused to engage in any kind of discussion or elaborating on points and just started calling me names and stuff like that. Then I started attacking back because he attacked me first, right? So even though I adopted the moderate position at first, I had to adapt a defensive position because I was getting name called. I was getting, aggressed on. So I sort of like just sympathize with Leon's point there. But as for Ninetails, specifically with the enabling violence to stuff, I totally get like the extremists who are bad faith and will, no matter what, they will always try to, maybe you can get to a middle ground here, right? They will always try to do whatever in their power to try to get power, try to be as fascistic as possible. I totally understand that because, I had a Vosh phase back then. Very embarrassing. I know, I'm sorry. But the thing is, right, is that But the thing is that it's less about appealing to the extreme ends, and it's more about appealing to people like Leon. And I don't think there are more extremists than people like Leon, right? But even then, right, is that eventually over time the extremists will die out. They will either die out or eventually over time they'll either mellow out or see the error of their ways. And even if they don't die out or see the error of their ways, they will be so politically ineffective or look so optically bad that they will not hold any real
How's
political
that
power
going in the United States?
but yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
All right. So I did
as a
say
question.
that I did say that I was going
anyway.
to
I
do
just wanted a clarification from her, if that's okay.
Okay, real quick.
Sorry, her is right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I just wanted a clarification from her. How is that going in the United States with the political extreme? I'm
I
just
think
wondering.
I think it's going spectacularly.
Yeah, you think Biden's set to win the next election and
Yes.
everything's going to be hunky dory? The sweeping
Yes.
anti-trans legislation across the country just gonna fizzle out and everything will go back to normal.
I think that specifically extremely duper duper sucks, but it's only because transgender people have been in spotlight and we've moved way too fast.
Okay. So
I fully disagree,
before
but
we
I'm
move
sure
on,
we
all
can
right,
move on.
we're gonna-
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're gonna get stuck on this
All right,
for
so
way too
first-
long. That's an
Yeah, yeah.
entire other.
First, I want to say,
Right.
Hannah, your thing is showing like a loading sign on mine. I'm not sure if you're able to hear us or not.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. It's just I
You're
guess
loading
your
fine.
picture.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
now
thought
it's
it was
back.
edgy.
Now it's back.
I thought it was super edgy.
Okay,
actually.
so I got 3 questions. I think we should.
Okay. Before we do that, I just have to leave in a few minutes. I have to catch a flight. So I just wanted to add one more thing, if that would be all right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. So when regarding to Leon, I think you're the one talking about being a mod or whatever. I think pulling a little bit back from all the extreme things we were talking about and how a lot of these things bring up a bunch of like conflict. I think the most common conflict that happened with the whole Hogwarts Legacy thing that people took issue with was that random streamers or whatever got sort of had a lot of aggression in their chat for playing the game. And this does indeed suck. There's just a couple things that I just want to sort of hopefully keep in perspective when considering these sorts of things, and hopefully implore one to consider them in different ways, is that, I mean, it's not very kind. At the same time, one must always sort of keep in mind that like a group of people is a big group of people. Not everyone can be a perfect arbiter of optics. There is going to be some chaos in and around the edges, but also these people who have had sort of their issues in their chat, like what's happening to them right now. Like this was months ago. Are they still being harassed in chat for playing the game? No, it's something that happened very briefly in time. All the people who are trans sort of fighting for their rights and being outraged, are they still sort of under threat? And the answer is yes. So I hope that a lot of these sort of in-your-face issues can be sort of kept in perspective. And it's not just a matter of which people are being kind and being the most optically perfect or not, versus like in favor of like who is actually sort of fighting for the right thing, at least in their hearts.
Thank you
Okay.
for coming, by the way. Have a great
Yes,
flight.
thank you. Have a good
Yeah,
flight.
Have a
thank
good-
you.
have a good flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Mhm.
Bye bye.
All right.
Bye.
Well, I did want to ask. I had 3 questions, but one of them is actually related to the game. So let's try and I guess use that one. Do pronoun options in Starfield actually make you feel better as a player? Whether you're trans or whether
Nah.
you're non-trans, does it actually improve the experience for you?
Yes. Wait, personally, yes. I love pronoun options personally, but it is what it is. That's more of a
So let me paint an example, right? So let's say I'm playing a video game and it has some sort of reference to genitalia. I'm not going to name the game. I'm sure we all know which one I'm referring to. And my ability to set different pronouns in that genitalia would be core to my ability to identify with it. Because first of all, I'm actually pre-op, so to have a character that's not steps ahead of me would be less dysphoric, and to not have a character that's misgendered would also be less dysphoric, and it would genuinely make the entire experience of the game better because the entire experience is gendered. The way that they change the dialogue in the game to match the pronouns you choose is evidence of that.
It's about being able to be represented as close to yourself as possible, right? But I don't think that like pronoun options in Starfield really do that to a great degree. I mean, sure, it's nice being able to pick they, them, or she, her, or whatever, right? But like, it seems like the barest fucking minimum. It was complicated to work out how to fucking do it. Okay, maybe I'm just a dumbass. All right, but on a mouse and keyboard, at least, it didn't show up quite as obviously as it did in the controller screenshot that we saw earlier. Honestly, the mouse and keyboard menus in that fucking game are shit anyway. And it does seem like quite often there's like this sort of gentle nod towards trans people, which, you know, is pleasant. It's better than outright hostility, as we saw with some developers just putting crazy transphobic rants in their patch notes and shit. But it is the barest fucking minimum, and it doesn't really do much. I mean, as far as I can tell, and I know Heels went on a rant about the cloned girl in the game. I don't know how far everybody's got, so I don't want to spoil anything. He went on a rant about her. I'm not sure she's a trans person at all. I think she is just a clone.
Oh my god, it's the FBI. Be right back.
But good luck. But
Yo,
but
if you
apart
have
from
pizza, send some my way. I'm hungry.
apart from debatably her, right? There is no gender variance in the game, right? There's no. It's a very binary world. Everybody's a guy or a girl. There's no hint of transness in there. There's no hint of queerness in there. I can't find okay, you have the option to have a relationship as any gender with any of your companions. But frankly, those characters are so fucking wooden that they don't feel like real relationships anyway. They're Bethesda NPCs, right? So there's, I accept and welcome any amount of representation. I think that actually I would prefer more rather than just the token nod, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a cis person, so I guess I have no input to this conversation. But yeah,
Well, can I quickly just turn the question back around on you? Well, did we
Sure.
already answer that? Maybe I'm stoned. Like, is there really, like, does anyone who claims that, like, it removes their immersion or anything like that, do you think that they have any real claim to that argument?
Depends on who you ask.
If I want a steel man, like heel versus babyface, there's a lot of people. A lot of the trans stuff is relatively new to people, and so a lot of people, and if you're more of a conservative person, or even just like not political and don't really follow stuff at all, don't really know any trans people, and like now at work, like they're putting like he, him, or she, her, or they, them, like in their email signatures, if you're working on a computer, or on their name badges, and there's like flags up all over the place, and you're like, well, what the heck is going on? And I do it, whatever, I don't care. I don't have enough bandwidth to care about this stuff one way or the other. I just want to sit down and play my video game. And you're like, oh, it's in the game too. What the fuck, right? That's like, if you want to steel man them and be like super charitable, you can be like, yeah, that like, might be where they're coming from. Like, they don't want to think about this. They just want to go to work. They want to take care of their kids, and then they want to go home and relax and play a game for 2 hours. And then the stuff that they saw at work, and the stuff that they saw in their kids' school, and the stuff that they saw, at other points in their life that they were trying to avoid, now it's in their game. Like, if you want to, and they're a little bit upset about that, I guess. Like heel versus baby faces.
I mean, fucking cry about it. In my opinion, if you're upset because you want to avoid having to recognize that trans people exist, well, that's fucking cry about it. This is the world you live in. Trans people do exist. If you find it ruins immersion for you or whatever, to be in a game where there's trans people, oh, I'm sorry, this is the real world. Aren't you the cunts always crying about how shit needs to be realistic and what have you? Whenever they race swap somebody or something, it's like, oh, that's not realistic, that's not historically accurate. Oh, a girl couldn't carry a gun that big. Like, well, fuck you. Trans people exist. There's your realism. Deal with it.
I think the thing is, right, is that, okay, and this is some of my, annoying liberal coming out, right? Is that, I like talking about, being in touch with your, emotions, right? And, also, being in touch. And I think one of these things is empathizing with how conservatives feel, when they see a lot of like these really jarring things. And even then, like even I personally, because I remember when I came out at work, and before I took up this content creation thing, and had my own community and stuff like that, right? I know that when I came out at work, everybody felt like their niceties towards my transgenderism and stuff like that, even though I passed pretty well. It felt not forced, but it felt awkward and weird. And even though I didn't put any pronouns or anything like that, because I just wanted to fit in, and everybody treated me the same as before. Nobody was like heavy-handed with it or anything like that. There was this atmosphere of discomfort, like this corporate discomfort, as if like it wasn't that they it wasn't that they it didn't feel natural the way that they accepted me. I wanted to feel natural in the way that they accept me, if that makes sense, right? So I don't know. I think there's a difference between these two. And if we really want it to be a space where finally people can understand that, and people can like not just pretend that it's okay, and just actually genuinely feel okay, and then vote. Left, talking about, and not just like pretend it in the office and then vote Republican. Like once they go home, then it's like, yeah, like, does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's one
Going
thing
back to what Viv said, it's kind of like, are we really so bored? Like, when did we stop like actually caring about real world things, which kind of links with what Foodshop says? And when did like right wing talking heads start deciding what we get outraged about? Like, if we're being honest, this person has full capacity to ignore this, because as we've pointed out, it was pretty missable, the initial thing, and their outrage was probably politically motivated.
Well, it just happens with everyone. If you take a side, and I'm just saying this, no one is innocent. No side is innocent when they do this. And I always say it like that. And yeah, it happens. It's just every side, every now and then, like every 5-10 years, one side gets to be an extreme lunatic, and then it's the other side and the other side again. So you know what?
When's that happened for trans people? I'm wondering.
Oh my god.
Well, is part of the
I'm
problem
just saying
here.
I'm seeing the spectrums of both sides is all
I'm saying.
saying.
I'm saying that there's been an imbalance of power for a significant amount of time. Trans people have managed to claw up maybe
And
a little bit of
attacking like
respect
this
and
scares away
respect and
moderates like
dignity.
me.
Well,
Okay.
is part of the problem here that we're all hang on, everyone, no. Is part of the problem here that we're all just seeing each other as quote unquote sides instead of seeing each other as like individuals. Isn't like part of the, like, I've heard both. I've heard Leon say sides. I think Vivian said sides at one point. If that wasn't you who said that, I do apologize. But I know two people said sides. It's like, why are we talking about sides? What are these sides? Aren't we just humans? Why can't we interact on that level?
You're cutting out, Tacky. Or is
My
it
internet is going horrible. I am so sorry. I keep messing up the stream too.
I know I'm doxing you right now, but like, are you? I mean, DDoSing you, but like, are you? Is your internet really that bad? I'm kidding.
I think I'm streaming at too high of a resolution, but I can't change it midstream.
Only
I'm recording
in-game,
though,
right?
so the VOD will be fine because I'm recording.
Yeah, Taki, figure out how to lower your bitrate, okay?
Yeah.
I think the thing is though is that there are identifiable groups of people with interests, needs, wants, desires, etc. And there are also ideological movements which are identifiable, which may either support or oppose the acquisition of those rights, wants, and needs. Right. And I think it is perfectly reasonable to talk about sides when you find that two of these groups are in total opposition to each other. We are all just humans, but we want very, very different things.
Yeah, I mean, just to steelman Vivian and Nine a little bit, right? Because I remember people criticizing this piece in the newspaper about how like they were just talking about how neo-Nazis also, drive a tractor or like read the newspaper and eat, McDonald's and, play board games and stuff like that, right? At the same time, it's sort of like normalizing, like the presence of neo-Nazis. And it's done in an irresponsible way in that case, because you are publicizing it to a left-wing audience in the way that, okay, look at these neo-Nazis, look how they're normal people just like us. And in my opinion, that is an irresponsible way to do it. A much more responsible way to do it is if you are having like a very confrontational liberal who is pushing back actively, but still trying to make them concede and find a middle ground, and going like, hey, by the way, you are like, we are doing that. I think that there are good ways to do it and there are bad ways to do it. But yeah, yeah, that's it.
I think that, and I was gonna like basically just bring this up one-on-one with fuck, what's your name again? Shit, Food Shops. There we go. Food Shops afterwards. Sorry about that. I had to like mouse over and remember.
Very good.
But like, it's been mentioned quite a lot of times now, and I feel like it's being used to sort of like beat me a little, right? This optics thing, and this Leon said, when you attack people like this, it's pushing me away or whatever, right? I think it is I think for the liberal moderate, it is the height of hubris to think that like what I say is it has to be designed to convince you to come over to my side, that you and your opinion are so important to me that what I say has to be geared towards you every single time. I think that that's awful. And I think that the conversation around optics as well, I think where we get our wires crossed to a certain degree is that, sure, optics are important, but optics can be targeted. I think appealing to everybody at the same time is going to result in you being wet, right? Like you're not going to fucking get anywhere if you sit there straddling the fence for fucking ever. There are a lot of people who are just never going to engage with you. But it depends on who you are gearing your rhetoric towards as to what you want to say, how you want to engage with it. And when I engage with a far right person who might be saying some fucking awful things, I think it would be utterly fucking stupid for me to act like Vosh, for example, and say that my argument here is meant to convince you to drop, rip up your swastika and start waving a hammer and sickle, right? Like, it is so fucking stupid, and these people don't do it either. And Heels versus Babyface is not ranting about pronouns to convince trans people to drop pronouns and get rid of them. He's ranting about them because it already appeals to his base. It mobilizes and motivates his base, probably just to give him money and subs, right? But like in the political sense, it does the same thing. If you direct your rhetoric towards your base, towards the people who already kind of believe what you want, you can push them towards greater political acts. You can motivate them to do more. You talked about voting. I don't believe that voting is the most important part of political activism either. I think there are a lot of other ways we can ameliorate harm, food drives, community groups, etc., etc., etc. But even if you're talking about voting, the demographic that votes the fucking least is the young demographic. And what are the young demographic? The young demographic are overwhelmingly pro-LGBT and pro-trans. And so if you're gearing your rhetoric as vehemently pro-trans and pro-LGBT, then you can help to motivate and put some fucking fire under those young people so that maybe they go out and vote, right? Like, you don't always have to convince the people that disagree with you to agree with you. You just have to convince the people that agree with you to fucking do something.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say, I do feel like we're getting a little bit afield. I think this is an interesting conversation actually, and I would like to discuss the optics thing more. If Vivian and Leon, if you want to do a stream on this at a different time, or anyone else too, we can 100% talk about that. I do want to move on to the Nexus mods controversy. which is associated with the pronoun thing. But
You're the one
but
who chose the video game topic.
I know,
Steph,
no,
this
it's
is a
related.
far more
It's
interesting
related.
topic, though.
It is related. Because okay, I'll give I'll give everybody a chance to give their final thoughts on the pronouns and on the discussion about optics and anything else they want to bring up. But then I do want to kind of talk about the idea that Niche Gamer, a gaming journalism site, is reporting that Nexus Mods is removing mods from the game that remove the pronouns. So if people make a mod and they post it on Nexus Mods, which is one of the biggest mod sites out there, then they'll actually take it down and not allow it on there. So I do want to move on to that, but I want to give everyone a chance for final thoughts. We can just do like round robin here. Foodshops, do you have any final thoughts on the first part of the discussion?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know that we sort of swerved into, the whole entire optics thing, but it was really interesting to see this entire thing go about it in a more like kind of optics kind of manner. I'm glad actually that we kind of zoomed out from this entire like video game kind of discussion, because I feel like this entire, Starfield pronoun thing was a humongous nothing burger, this entire like cloud farming, whatever the fuck, right, that one person was doing. But in terms of the, I'm glad to finally have a discussion / debate with, Vivian, right? But also glad that it was also extremely civil. But also another thing is just that when it comes to the optics thing, at the end of the day, I'm not, by the way, to very clarify, I'm not equating the two, but when it comes to like this kind of rhetoric kind of thing, the reason I talk with progressives is also like the same reason I talk with conservatives as well, right? Is that I do want to see eye on things, and also want to communicate my ideas clearly. And I want to be able to see, okay, what are the kinds of issues that we relate on? What kind of things can we actually agree on? And if we are able to focus on some of the issues that we can actually solve and actually like find agreements on, let's focus on the idea of productivity instead of focusing on things that get us extremely emotionally charged up. Because if we get to, if we get way too emotionally charged up about some issues to the point where we are unable to actually make efficient progress, and we just circle back to this kind of online, kind of infighting and, lack of fighting. Because I was talking about it with somebody yesterday who was a Texan, activist in real life as well, by the way. And we talked about it, and it's so much more effective to go out there and do that. And it's good to also vote and also do in real life action at the same time. And I always respect people who, go out and volunteer at soup kitchens, people who, even anarchists who say that they are going out there and doing volunteer work. I highly, highly respect that as well. Even people who go out into the DSA and do like, events like that as well, and Canvas and stuff like that. I super support that as well. Anything to get your, butt off the seat and go out there and actually do some real life work. I super support that. So yeah, I don't know. It's always good to see eye to eye on certain things and to quote unquote speak like a politician. But anyway, that's it. Yep, that's my closing statement.
Leon, do you have any closing thoughts for the first segment?
Not much. Everything was said, but you know what? I'm just gonna say this right now. Everyone's mindset over everything changes over time. It happens, it changes. Like 15 years ago, my mom, who just recently passed away, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have seen her support the LGBT side of things. But now, like right before she passed, she actually, like years before she passed, she was actually supporting it. People change. That's all I gotta say. Just give it time and people will change. Not everyone's gonna be in their, I don't know. It's people will change, and that's all I gotta say.
All right, Ninetails, I see you're giving a little bit of a skepticism towards that. Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, sorry. Actually, since I didn't say very much and I kind of want to string a lot of this together, can I go last?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Thank you.
In that case, Vivian, do you have anything?
Sure. I mean, I said a lot of what I have to say, but in response to Food shops. Why do I keep forgetting that? It's such a simple name.
Don't worry. Everybody
Okay.
just calls me anything but food shops. People just call me food stamps, boob shops, foot jobs, and anything else but food shops. So you're good. Okay, don't worry about it.
Foot jobs sounds fun.
Thank you.
So, in response to foot jobs,
Okay.
I
You're
I-
good. Don't worry about it.
I believe that reaching out to people who don't already agree with us is a good thing, right? Like, this is not me criticizing your view of activism or what you want to do. It is me defending the way I do activism and the way people like me do activism against what I think is quite often an attack based on the idea that people like myself are not civil, do not appeal to the opposition, and in some ways our approaches, whilst separate and whilst a diversity of tactics is always a very valuable thing, sometimes our approaches clash, right? We can be aggressive and put people off while we're firing up our own base and getting them to do shit, right? And in our view, in our eyes, you can be appeasing and be how to put it, appeasing and permissive of harm against our community, right? By downplaying or attempting to appeal to the people who vehemently disagree with us, right? And that is not to say that you're a bad person, you're hurting everybody or whatever, right? Like, I understand how that can come across and so on. But it is the fact that these two very different tactics do have their own niche, and they do come into conflict with each other. But I don't tend to attack your view of how you should do activism because I do recognize the usefulness in it. The aggressiveness I see comes from those people who value civility politics to the degree that you do, and optics to the degree that you do towards us, right? The anarchists who might smash a window once in a while or call somebody a fucking Nazi.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Appabend, do you have any final thoughts on the first segment?
I'm just glad that I'm listening. I don't really have a lot of I don't really have a lot of thoughts on this matter because it's more concerned about it's more concerned about political activism and how trans people are pushing this political activism so that they are able to convince more and more people into joining their side. And I totally agree in this in the regard that optics can and cannot matter depending on certain contexts. But I do want to going back to the context of video games, and I just feel like a lot of things, like I'm coming into this whole conversation about the Starfield conversation with the expectation that I'm going to be talking more about the video game, but I just realized it doesn't really matter. It in the context, in the grand scheme of things, the video game itself really doesn't matter. It's the societal issue that is influencing the video game to make that particular decision. And that's the one that matters, which is something that I also talk about in the video, but I guess people say that in a way that is more on the opposition of the LGBT movement or something along those lines. But yeah, in this regard, I'm just here listening. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're going on to game stuff
I
now
guess-
anyway, aren't we?
Well, it's related to the pronoun controversy though. But yeah, I guess I'll give my thoughts real quick and then I'll let Ninetails go. I've already sort of posted on Twitter and Facebook what my views on this are. I don't think the pronoun thing's a big deal. I think that if players have more options in an RPG, then that's great. And they know that we should want more options in character creation, and that that's a good thing. And I think also if some trans people are happy because of this, then that's good too, right? It's improving their conscious experience and doesn't really cost anything. Now I do want to say I do agree with Leon though. People are changing all the time. I am. I've undergone like tremendous personal growth. I'd like to think that I always am, and like I'm learning and growing as a person, and I've changed my mind on topics sometimes, and I try to like explore the issues in a nuanced and honest way, and a lot of people do, and I feel like we should try and like generally, meet people where they're at, try to understand where they're coming from, and like have a conversation with them and see them as a human being who might have something interesting or valuable to add, or in some knowledge or insight that you don't have. I think that that's really good. Also, I do want to add that I did want to
Oh,
have,
do you?
I did last minute, like in the last like 2 hours, try to find people who are going to disagree with us more here. I reached out to a few people and posted on Twitter if anyone wanted on. I probably should have reached out sooner. I did reach out to Heel vs Babyface since we are talking about his reaction to an extent. And I only sent him an email like 2 hours ago, though,
God,
or
I'd
3 hours
love
ago.
to have
So,
a one-on-one with that fucker.
well, if he replies to the email and he wants
okay.
on, if you're watching now, and you want on, email me and we can have a
I don't
separate
think anybody's watching.
conversation.
Your stream died.
It died, but I got it back up, right? I think it's back up now.
Oh no, it's still running.
Um,
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Oh, so
Okay.
all
Okay,
right.
that's cool.
Ninetails.
Yeah, so I did a lot of listening during this too, mostly because Viv completely like guided us through that. And I think, I didn't come into this with the expectation that we were going to stay on the video game. In fact, I was very much prepared to have this side of the conversation. Not that I was going to necessarily steer it that way, just that these things are linked. Going to like what Tachyon said, it's not only just, that, it makes some people happy. Like, sorry, one sec. It's the trade-off of being a smoker, right? So, when people like engage with something like these pronouns, like let's be real, right? The they them pronouns for non-binary people more than trans people. And it's a lot of time it's people who are sort of exploring these ideas, have like a vague idea, like maybe this is me, but they have yet to be in a scenario where they feel like that's affirming them. And so being able to do that and use the video game character as an avatar can be very important for that development and like that character building within. Um, so, and then I want to tie this back to like, while we don't really think like in terms of like, or while we're having we're having this a lot in the discussion of framing regarding, who says this side versus that side, that is a bit of a misnomer, because what somebody like I can never remember his name because it's like a weird sequence of words, but the Babyface Gaming is what I'm going to call him. What Babyface Gaming basically said, or is advocating for as a solution, is let's think of it as a form of cultural erasure, where he'd rather see all of this disappear and then the representation for those people disappear. And I think that that's very extreme on its own right, even if he's masking it with a like I can't get immersed kind of thing. The fact that a lot of people don't think about things to that level is part of why the far right can weaponize these things, these moral panics, and guide, more irrational thinkers to panic against these things as like a campaign. And that's what the left is pushing against. In response, particularly to the food shops, it's not just about voting at the end of the day. It's about making sure people are aware of the violence that is there, because a lot of people think of violence as like, oh, you got punched in the face or called a mean word, and that works great in maybe grade school, but it doesn't really kind of translate to the ways that we see violence both on the internet and systemically. So how we talk about those things, as that changes, we start have to identifying different mechanisms, and one of those things is when the status quo stands by to violence, that means that I sometimes define that as systemic, but I'm actually going to say here it's normalized. And when that violence is normalized, the people who stand by are part of the problem. So while I don't want to say you're violent, I also would say, like, if you don't want me to say that, don't be a part of the problem. And that's it. Thank you.
Also, I'm sick of them pushing cishet shit in my video games. Every time I fucking log in, there's some cunt doing a hetero girl boy kit. It's disgusting. Everybody's the gender they were assigned at birth. Frankly, I don't understand why these games are so political. Where is my all trans game? Where the fuck is it?
I'm working on it.
I'm actually curious, Ninetails, because you tweeted out before the conversation here, the discussion. Tonight I'll be explaining how pronouns work to boomers. Was this the kind of conversation you thought it would be?
No, I was honestly just trying to think of something I could say, and if you notice, I took out the pronouns from that. You
Oh, I
know,
didn't even notice.
Yeah, so that was the thing, right? Like, this is how common pronouns are, and like, if you're gonna get mad, like getting mad at pronouns in someone's bio or their Twitter, like, are you like really? You're that offended by the English language?
I'm a boomer.
They're not. I said it earlier, right?
I'm
They're
not saying I'm
offended
not saying
by-
you're. It's just a joke.
Yeah,